Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions concerning this watch. And I assure you, once this watch is no longer available, it's going to be a hell of a wait for the next one. I see a fair number of F.P. Journe timepieces, and yet I am introducing this watch as a stranger to both you and to me. The first appearance in my office of the F.P. Journe Octa Divine 36mm high jewelry. So this is part of Journe's small high jewelry collection, and the Octa Divine 36 is uncommon enough. On a bracelet, even less common. High jewelry with 650 gems, adding up to 6.5 carats, VVS quality F/G color caliber. This is an incredible feat of high jewelry craftsmanship. This is truly a métier d'art masterpiece. So, 36 millimeters in diameter. It's built on a rare case size for Journe. It's not as thick as it looks in profile, 10.9 millimeters thick, and then lug tip to lug tip, 47.7. If we add the end link of the bracelet, the first link on each side, total horizontal distance across the wrist is 48.8, and there's an 18 millimeter spacing in between the lugs. It is blindingly white, all in platinum, with one notable exception, which we'll get to, and all those diamonds. It's not a woman's watch, it's just a smaller watch. You could see it is smaller than the 38, the 40, the 42s that have also been offered by Journe across the model lines over the years. It's much smaller than the full bracelet 44mm sports watches, but it is not tiny, and it has big personality. You can see on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist, smaller than the others, but adding the wingspan of that bracelet, this is still the kind of watch with which to make an entrance. Deeply impressive. It's also fairly thin, and you can see how it would slide underneath the cuff right there. Okay. This bracelet is different from any other Journe bracelet I've encountered in the way it's constructed, also in the fact that it is set with a shocking 466 brilliant cut VVS gems. Now you can see how it has a little bit of an angularity as the outer links angle towards the center, and then you can see the step down of the diamond setting less and less as we move towards the clasp, which is itself diamond set. Now, over the years, I have overgeneralized. Sometimes I've mindlessly called every French-made case, clasp, and bracelet at F.P. Journe double hallmarked with a double eagle head, but the fact is the eagle head is only on gold, and you have a wolf or a dog's head on platinum. So what's fascinating here is that this clasp has both. I mentioned to you that some of this is not platinum. You could see the warmth of this white gold inner clasp, which is mechanically stronger than platinum, and in fact white gold is mechanically stronger than the other golds, which is why it's used here. But you could see that it is double eagle hallmarked, and that it has a distinctly darker tone than the pure white, which is platinum, and then you can see the wolf's head or the double dog's head hallmarking right there. So you have both versions of the French hallmark on this platinum and gold French-made bracelet. You can also see, if you're familiar with the Journe bracelets generally, this one is built nothing like them. On the bottom, you can see that the construction is absolutely singular, a breed apart, and unlike the other Journe bracelets that you'll see on Journe bracelet-clad watches. Now you can see that we have removable links fixed by screws, and you can see that those screws are white gold to discourage stripping. Close this up. You can see F.P. Journe branded with diamonds set even at the bottom of the clasp. Rolling around to the case now. So if there's 466 diamonds on the bracelet, here on the bezel and on the lugs, we have 184. So on the bracelet, we've got I believe we've got something like 4.16 carats on the bracelet. And so that's where the majority of the diamonds are. But you can see how well set the lugs and the bezel are. Perfectly concentric. You could see the white gold girdles built up around the gems to hold them in place. Intricately crafted one by one, and by keeping all of the diamonds VVS and the color of each gem F/G, they've ensured that there's no gradient of color or clarity from gem to gem. Deeply impressive. This is a more handmade watch than the Journe norm. One feature I do like here is that it actually does not feature the gem set dial, which was an option on this model. We have a media blasted white gold dial, and then we have the silver outer surround fixed by dial side polished screws. We've got a metallized sapphire disc for the moon. That's how Journe does moon phases. Then we have a flush disc double-digit date. We have a power reserve indicator that indicates 120 hours, though in fact the chronometric power reserve of this caliber 1303 is it's 120 hours, but it will run for 160. So in terms of how long it'll run, almost 7 days. Keep it wound within the span of this power reserve indicator, and it will be almost perfectly isochronous, as Journe has engineered the 1300 with a very thin but meter-long mainspring. So that super long mainspring has a flat plateau that lasts 120 hours, and so despite being a long power reserve, single barrel, single mainspring watch, Journe found a way to engineer that so for 5 days, it will keep relatively consistent time with constant torque to the escapement without the need of a remontoire or a fusee. So that's why it's always labeled 120 instead of 160. We do have a double quickset mechanism here, which I'll demonstrate now. So I can move that moon phase disc rather quickly, and I can adjust my date rather quickly. We have the distinctive Journe tapered fired blue hands, and then you can see that there's a little bit of a concentric pattern on the track for the time, featuring Journe's distinctive typeface for the numerals. Flipping it all over, you can see that solid gold caliber Octa 13.3. So big revisions to the Octa over the years. Primarily the switch to 18 karat solid gold bridges and plates, which you have right here, and that took place from about 2004 through maybe 2005, 2006 as the last brass movements were built out, usually part of special editions at the end of the line. But then also the change from bidirectional winding to unidirectional winding, which is more efficient. Again, it has a 160-hour absolute, 120-hour chronometric power reserve. It's a fairly large movement built to size evenly with the case, so it's a good hand and glove fit of a 30.4 millimeter movement and a 36 millimeter case. It's all 30 meters water resistant, so you don't want to take it swimming. It has a 3 hertz beat rate, 5 position adjustment, and a large diameter, high mass free sprung balance for excellent timekeeping. You can see that the rotor itself isn't quite the diameter of the movement, and Journe explained this to me in terms of wanting to put complications on the dial side. So the Octa, he said, was designed with an off-center rotor because something about the mating surface at the top of the movement for attaching complications like an annual calendar or a chronograph, that required the winding system to be offset. So that is why it's offset on all of the Octas. The finishing is okay. I would say it's described most accurately as high horology, but it is not a gilded lily. It will never be mistaken for Laurent Ferrier, Romain Gaultier, the top-end Patek Philippe watches. But that was always part of the notion of an F.P. Journe watch, a little bit like George Daniels. It was all about technical innovation and pushing boundaries rather than polishing to the nth degree. So it gives a good account of itself, but for the most part, the highlight of the movement is the technical audacity of it and the fact that it is made of solid gold with a platinum case, platinum bracelet, solid gold movement, solid gold dial, solid gold clasp internal. It's a weighty watch. It feels like the solid machine it is without being particularly large. So in that sense, it is a little giant. If you love this watch, reach out to Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase and pricing details. And again, I've never seen another one of these. In theory, it was available from 2003 to 2021. In reality, who knows? They may have gone entire model years without making a single example. Also of note, and I should probably throw this in before we conclude because I know that Journe aficionados would love to know, this watch features the double hallmark of France. So this is an Eleanor-made case, and you can see Eleanor's maker's mark right next to the double hallmark. You can also see the Swiss hallmark because it was a French-made case on a Swiss-assembled watch. And that's sort of charting the changes of Journe over the years. So again, reach out to Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.